Welcome everyone back to another motherfucking episode of the C.P.E podcast. Today is a special edition. I know normally we only drop once a week, but we planning on doing this new thing where we start to interview people and everything like that. So this is gonna be a nice special edition for the weekend for everybody. So I hope you guys all enjoy it. Today I have with me one of the group members. He's also an artist out there, a very, very dope artist, if I do say so myself. M.O.B Trey, thank you. Welcome to the pod, man.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
How's everything for you, King?
Man, I'm a little jet lag. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just got back into town about 2 hours ago from another video shoot. Just staying busy, bro.
I see that out there. Yeah, I see you drop something in the group too, man. I was at work. I ain't get a chance to check it all out yet.
it's a little steamy. I'm surprised Ari hadn't commented yet.
Ari is actually in Facebook jail.
Ah, terrible.
Yeah,
that sucks.
So you know how Zuck be out here getting people. He be zucking. But hold on, before we go any further, I want to hit them with the intro of the pod real quick. And then we can get right into
Do your thing.
But you damned if you do, you can't please everybody. When I learned I can't please everybody, my life was great. I don't care what you think about me. Yeah, you wash. Get out of here, suck my dick. I don't care, no homo. I don't give a fuck. Because you can't let the world dictate who you are.
And that's a fact. And that's why we are the C.P.E podcast. We can't please everybody. We don't aim to please everybody. We just here to smoke some gas and talk some trash. You already know, man.
Right.
Yo, so my brother, first and foremost, let's just jump right into it. Because I got a lot of things I want to ask you. All right, so why don't you tell the people a little bit about M.O.B Trey? What's your background? Where you come from? What city you grew up in?
For sure. Like, I'm pretty nomadic from all over Central to East Texas. I'm originally born in Dallas, raised most of my life in South Arkansas, like Southern Arkansas, right on the edge of East Texas, the Texarkana area. I was the odd man out because I grew up on nothing but New York rap. So when everybody was saying Wayne and T.I. were the best rapper alive, I'm like, y'all niggas act like Cassidy ain't bombed them niggas. Y'all acting like Fabulous ain't bombed them niggas. The fuck is you talking about? But that's kind of where I started out at rapping wise. I actually started in the choir just like Joe did when I was like 6, 7 years old. But
oh really?
Yeah. Like that was my first instance. That was my first instance with anything music related. Then a talent show in 9th grade, we just did a lip sync of a Lil Bow Wow song, ironically. And at that age, that was when I actually decided to, you know what, that shit was pretty cool. I think I could write my own rhymes and still do that shit. So like it was decided at the age of 9 that I was gonna try to do something with music.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you started out real young then, knowing that this was going to be your path.
I knew I was gonna do something with the arts because I was already drawing. I was already like trying to do my own little comics. Like that was always something that I did from a young age in general. So, but music found me at 9, and I'm like, okay, let's see what I can do with that as well. And I was like branching on and off, but music was the most consistent one out of everything.
Okay, all right, that's dope, man. I think that's something that comes from like the black people background, especially with the choir and everything. Because I myself was in the choir when I was young, also around that same age. Yeah. So I'm not surprised when it comes to that. I think especially when you growing up in a household where we have like our parents, they're more church going people, as opposed to nowadays.
Yeah, like cause my mom got 25 on me, so she was definitely raised in a church. She was first generation to graduate from college, and like that was kind of something with me and my cousin, because my mom had a sister too. Like so, my cousin was really more like my brother because they both only had one apiece. Gotcha. So like we grew up in the church because they grew up in the church, and we were kind of like legacy because they both were the first in our family to graduate college.
Oh, okay. Well, shit. Yeah, man. Congratulations on that. And that's a historic thing right there.
Indeed. We both follow suit too. That was also pretty cool. We both managed to get out at the age of 24.
And so you graduated college also?
Yeah. I have a bachelor's degree in business management as well as a bachelor's degree in human psychology, like behavioral psychology, I should say. I also have an associates of arts in business accounting.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've been through the thing. All right. That's dope,
Yeah,
man. So question then. So, all right. So you started out at 9 years old. That's when you knew that
yeah,
this music was going to be a part of your life, right? Was and
right.
you also said you was in the choir in the beginning, right? All right.
Yeah, like that
So
was something that was. Oh, go ahead, bro.
no, go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that was something that was thrown, that was kind of thrust upon me. I didn't like to practice. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I was like, I've always been like a pressure performer. So like when it was time for recitals and everybody else that was practicing was too spooked to actually do it, they made me sing lead every time because I didn't give a fuck. Like, all right, we're here. Somebody has to sing. Y'all not just gonna be able to be quiet and we not look stupid.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's kind of like how same thing here. I ended up taking the lead in my choir too at that age because of, the lead singer who was the lead singer of the choir, she no longer her parents had a fallout with the church and they ended up moving on. So I was like, all right, Chris, it's on to you. And then I got a little older and my voice cracked and I knew that was it for me.
Yeah, like I definitely had to relearn how to sing around the time when I started smoking.
Yeah, so that's gonna lead me into my question, that I have for you. So when it comes to the choir background and everything, is that a reason why you always knew that you wanted to do something also besides just rapping, but doing something in the R&B realm too?
I believe so. I actually think I leaned more into rapping around, like, because I didn't care for singing. I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was kind of embarrassing, and I wasn't the proudest of my voice. But I was also one of the ones who wasn't sure of my abilities when I was younger, except for things that were saluted a lot. And until recitals, I wasn't really saluted for my singing voice. I was kind of ashamed of my voice to an extent. It was the talent show when I did the Bow Wow lip sync that cinched for me. Okay, I can rap. If I can't sing, I can at least rap. Then I
Mm-hmm.
guess as I got deeper and deeper into making music and more confident with my voice, like think about how Royce kind of did over time when he would play around with singing on songs
Mm-hmm.
like Stomp Your Head. I think the more I heard rappers branch into that, the more I decided I can do that because the more I decided that I should give it a shot, like not be a one trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
It was more so the R&B later that I've incorporated now wasn't out of me wanting to sing the whole time, more so me understanding the barcode metric of music
Okay.
where it has to move a certain amount for it to have been a success in certain people's eyes. You have to have something that plays in certain markets in order for you to be able to touch all the people you can with what you're able to do. So like I decided to do it when I realized that I could do when auto-tune became a thing and I didn't have to trust solely on my own voice, even though I could sing. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like on those records, it's easier for me to fall back from just being super duper lyrical and just be catchy. So that's why I kind of incorporate the R&B. Like, okay, I can easily make a hit as a rapper, as an R&B singer.
Yeah. That's
That's how it
dope right
felt. I
there.
hate to say it that way, but that's how it felt.
No, but that's dope because you do see a lot of people nowadays, especially in the last 10 years, I would say, well, maybe 10 to 15 years, a lot of rappers, they tend to kind of go into the R&B realm, but not fully like locked in with the
Immerse
R&B.
themselves.
Exactly, immerse themselves in it. So
Then there's people who make the full-on transition, and I don't think I'll ever do that. But there's people who use rap as just a mediator in their music, like Black Now or Don Tolliver.
mm, mm-hmm.
Both super talented brothers that I love listening to, but I don't see myself getting that far removed from rapping. I feel like I would at least do both.
Yeah. And that's dope right there because you're able to touch two different crowds, because you're so diverse with your catalog, and when you drop a project, all right, I have a little bit of something for them over here. If you don't want to hear the super lyrical stuff, I got some of this over here, So I think that that's very, very dope because, like I said, you don't just stick to one crowd when you do that. So question
Right.
though, all right, who was some of your inspirations when you first started rapping?
Oh man. Like I said, I did my first instance with rap ever was me lip syncing Bow Wow. But when I got deeper into really wanting to be a rapper, like getting good, like I'd say around 12 when I really started doing homework,
Mm-hmm.
Cassidy was probably first, honestly. As corny as he is now to me, Cassidy is a lot of the reason why I got started paying attention to rhyme schemes and wordplay in general. Then after him, it was Loaded Lux, even though it was just in the battle sense, like listening to his freestyles. From there, I started picking up more of Slaughterhouse, Joe Budden, who my big homie LaQuinn Graves. Shout out my nigga Graves, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who introduced me to Joe Budden through New Music 3 and the Broken Wings freestyle. That was like 2011 or 12-ish. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, it was just like I want to write now. I can do that. Let me learn how to do that. In the same way that Nas learned how to rap by taking bits and pieces of all the people he was listening to, that same amalgamation of just different pieces came together to create the way that I rapped. It was super nerdy at first. I'm not gonna lie. It was like the Eminem lyrical, but advanced wordplay like people hadn't heard on beats. It sounded like battle rap type built bars, but it was still rhythmically on beat. It just kind of had the nasally voice to it because I was growing up still. I was in my early teens, mid-teens still, but I feel like I didn't really grow into the voice that I have now until like maybe the mid 2015s. I was like my mid 20s. But at that point, I figured out how to use all of that talent or use all of that ability to play with words and apply it to my actual story.
Got you. Okay. So tell us something about M.O.B Trey. Tell us a little bit about your story and what do you want the people to understand when they listen to your music?
I want people to listen to my music and think about, for sure. I want people to, just because I'm on a Skype chat, it's all good. But yeah, I just want people to listen to my music and think, no matter what your story starts out as, it can become whatever you take the time to change yourself to be. You have to build yourself into your version of success. Like being born weak is destiny. Dying weak is a choice. That's kind of what I want my music to come across as. Like, yeah, it sucks today, but we don't know what tomorrow looks like. Let's prep for the best version of tomorrow we can get.
That's true. I like that. And those are inspiring words too, because a lot of people, they, like you said, you're born weak, that's one thing, that's not your choice. But dying weak, that's just by the lack of passion for something, the lack of drive for anything, for you wanting to set the tone for not only just your life, but your legacy too, So with that being said, I know we spoke about some of your inspirations and everything like that, but take me also to the time when you wrote your first rap. And what did you feel like when you wrote your first rap, and how did you think that it would connect with people?
Honestly, it was one of those things where I was impressing myself that I knew how to put it together, because it's weird. You can't really teach creativity. You can't really teach expression. You can only learn words to express what you're trying to say. I've always been kind of good with words to where I could read words that I didn't understand, but I could pronounce them properly. So when it came to me writing my first rap when I was like 9 or 10 after that talent show, it wasn't something that I thought about how to connect with people. Like I said, it took me a while to even understand the barcode way of doing music, of like, it has to connect to someone. So when I wrote my first rap, I was impressing me. I was like, y'all should love this if I love this. That was the best way for me to do it. That's all I understood.
No, and that's true too. I mean, I think also when we're at that age, you don't really understand how it's going to connect with certain people, especially at such a young age. So you know how it feels to you. So you feel like, all right, if I like this, then you should like this, which is very important too, because I wouldn't co-sign something unless I believe in it,
Right. Like 50 said, like, if you only making it for you, it should stay in the house. My problem is I didn't realize I was only making stuff for me in the beginning. But I also spent a lot of time secluded as a kid. Like, I spent more time in the crib playing video games until I was a teenager than most would understand. But that's also where that nerdy kind of voice came from, and that super technical lyrical stuff that I was doing early on before I started going outside and developing better social cues outside of just my immediate surroundings.
That's dope. All right, so now let's go into your teenage years, right? All right, sure. So teenage years, teenage Trey. Now that you kind of have an understanding of the bar scheming and everything like that, and the counts, the bar counts, basically, right? Yeah. Who was the first person that you actually let somebody listen to your music and they gave you an opinion honestly, and you thought that, what, if this person respects it, I know I got something going?
I'll be real. Like, as a teenager, I think the first person who heard me rap, who their opinion was gonna have an effect on, was probably my cousin Stutter D. Like, at that time, like, he's my cousin. I mentioned I grew up with a lot of my younger cousins. My cousins all kind of had we were all savants to an extent. We all had something that we were just like brilliant at. And Stutter D was just the smartest one of us, it felt like. So if I could impress him with a verse. As smart as I felt I was, even though I didn't realize at the time he was smarter than me, I looking back at him like, oh yeah, he definitely was that. That was his gift. But even still, even though I wasn't fully aware that he was smarter than me at the time, just knowing how smart he was, I knew if I could move him with something I could come up with, that anybody who got ears to think was going to get moved from here forward. Then the next person, like if I'm talking about the first person I knew, like I got to smoke this guy to be as a measuring stick, it was actually my man's Kadeem when I was 19.
Okay. So
like,
you was familiar with the battle style?
Yeah, at that point I was being scouted by, remember when Swag first got invested in Smack URL, like the first ones in like 09? At that time, he had followed me on Twitter, like right after he had run that lottery and they got the URL thing started. I thought I was being scouted to come and do a battle one of those days, because like I had come from a battling background long before then. Like I had battled before I met Kadeem, but at that time I knew I was head and shoulders above my general surroundings in South Arkansas. So like when I heard somebody, like when his cousin Els put me on the phone with Kadeem for the first time, I rapped a little verse thinking it wasn't going to be anything crazy that he was going to reply to me with, because nobody had ever moved me with anything they said here. Then he hit me with a verse. I'm like, I literally followed him with the best verse I had in the tuck. This is me at 19. And at that time, I figured I was already being primed for a URL debut.
Okay. All right. So, so take me now. You're in college, you know, and obviously you've been doing it for now a certain amount of years, correct? So now, you're in college. How do you basically juggle your college life and wanting to pursue music?
Pretty similarly to how I still do it now. I go on cycles of time where I can either take time away from whatever else I'm doing and just hit the road musically, or I just meet in the middle somewhere with whatever time I get free, I dedicate that to music. Like in college, I had no sense of balance though. It was still rap or nothing. I was just happened to be so good that at college, I didn't have to study hard to still pass, while I was putting so I was literally just writing 200 bars a day in classrooms, not giving a fuck what the teacher said, because I still had to be average. Like I was like, I'm not going to incriminate myself, but I had a bunch of other things going outside of the classroom, to the point of where if I didn't have to show up to the classroom, I didn't go. And I just was maintaining the GPA high enough to not be on academic probation. I'll be real.
I mean, I think that's kind of how like a lot of college students, their stories are. Like they have something else going on outside, you know, but you know, as long as I can maintain this certain grade average, you know, and I don't be in too much trouble, then I'll just continue to do what I'm doing, you know.
Exactly.
All right.
And it caught up with me though. It caught up with me though. I trapped until I was in academic probation. I had to take it off. But in that year off is when things really started. Is when I started formulating my sound, and I got used to the bar coding. That was around the time when I got used to the bar coding, because I went into academic probation summer 2013, didn't go back to school until summer January 14. I took that year off to focus on how to make a hit, get better at just songwriting and simplifying my music. By that time, I had that in the tuck. So I'm like, okay, let me just put my nose to the pavement for the next year, get done with college. Then from there, it's either get a job or we get it popping. That was kind of the plan at that point.
Okay. All right. And all right. So now, question for you then. When you listen to music nowadays, right? What do you draw inspiration from nowadays? Do you draw it from yourself, or do you draw it from other artists?
It's a combination of the two. The biggest thing that I listen for music nowadays isn't for the best rapper anymore. Like, granted, if you impress me as an MC, after you show me what you can do as an MC, now I'm listening to how you use it or what you're trying to tell me in your rapping. But the main thing I'm listening for most musicians, especially in this melodic age, is the sound bed. Like, how polished is the mix? How good is the instrumentation? How well are you setting a vibe? But if you're asking for explicit things that inspire me as a rapper, it's always still gonna be your pen. Like I'm not rolling out of the bed to rap for everybody. It's really my niggas who inspire me the most. When Kadeem drops something or send me something I haven't heard before, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready. When he gets in the booth with a rapper I've never heard before and that nigga smokes some shit, I'm like, send me his number and his tuck size. Like that's what gets me out of bed. Like when I know that there's still not necessarily people, not competition, because I feel like I'm only competing with me at this point. But when I hear there's new young guys coming up who are just a hair away from reaching what I feel like we've built, me and the team have built in terms of how far lyrics can go in a certain frequency of sound. That's what inspires me. So when I hear people like Conway coming up with that kind of flow, like Conway and Benny the Butcher, the Griselda style, those two are specifically, that inspired me to write some of my best verses in 2020 when they first signed with Shady. Kadeem's last album got me back in the booth to get to work on Dawn 3. Cordell is back to work on Grown Man 2, and I'm daydreaming about Dawn 4 already. Like shit, it's the niggas who I know got it, who proved to me they got it. That's what gets my pen moving.
Okay. And when you say Cordell, you mean Cordell Watts?
Yeah. C. Watts. That's my man.
I like C.
Shout
Watts.
out
I
C.
like
Watts.
his, yeah, shout out to C. Watts. Actually one of my favorite projects was Laugh Now, Cry Later, I think it is.
What? That was album of the year to me. I don't care what anybody says. That was actually album of the year.
2020, I think that was 2020 when he dropped that, right? Or 2019,
yeah,
around that time.
He dropped it right after I did Doing Better Than I'm Feeling. He dropped it the week before I dropped Doing Better Than I'm Feeling. He dropped that, and I'm like, and it was a cool 20 piece. That was the best album of that year to me.
Bro, hands down, I definitely remember speaking highly on that album. And it's funny because I seen him the other day, like commenting on your stuff. You know, I always see him commenting on your stuff and everything. And I'm like, Cordell Watts, he sounds familiar. I'm like, oh shit, it's him. Because we kind of just haven't spoken to each other for a while now, you know. But I'll definitely got to reach out to him and speak to him more about that. So talk to me about your team, because I believe your label is the Almighty Ink Gang.
Yeah, Ink Gang Digital. It was originally a completely different name, and we ended up rebranding. It was originally called Mic Club Inc. or Mic Club Incorporated. That's been an imprint since 2013 until we did the rebrand, and the rebrand came about in 2000 and I want to say 2017, 2018. That's when we rebranded. It's not a lot of us. It keeps dispersing, but for the most part, we're just a digital creation company. It's not a full-on record label. It's not management. It's not distribution. It is creative vision and tailoring. We get people's photos done. We get videos done. We get mixing done. We A&R, but we do it all in-house, and we do it by job rather than by percentage. So like we put together the look and the aesthetic for artists. Like people who rep Ink Gang are people who had their sound tailored around them by me or Kadeem, you know what I'm saying? Like we're the ones who basically do the most of the orchestrating, and the most of the roster that we had is gone. All I'll say that we have left is Ink Gang. We've picked up Paradox. We're collaborating with C.P.E Records in Little Rock with Dreaded Blaze, who is phenomenal. Shout out Paradox and Dreaded Blaze. Me and Dreaded Blaze have an album coming out this year later on called Ego on Fire. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but that's next down the pipeline when I'm done with the R&B album. And outside of that, also my man's D Birch. D Birch is who actually inspired the rebrand, because he was the first person to call us Ink Gang on record.
Okay.
So yeah, like that's the team as is right now. We're always looking to work with more artists. Speaking of which, shout out some of the local artists that I've been working with, that I've been giving opportunities to. Rio Draco, really dope artist from here in Hope, Arkansas, where I am staying. I am still living in South Arkansas, just right on the edge of East Texas. Shout out Lil Pastor, also super dope. They were both on my song Home on Dawn 3. More to come from them soon. And I also directed both of Rio Draco's last 2 music videos, Go Down and Granny. I directed both of those videos for him. Shout out Nostalgiana too, an image consultant and photographer here in Hope, who also is doing really good work. We all over the tri-state, man. What can I tell you?
That's dope, man. That's dope, man. You know, and shout out to all those people you just dropped too. Question, when it comes to now putting together a project, right? How do you go about picking your features and everything like that? Like, how do you, what do you listen for when you say, all right, this one is perfect for that, and this one is perfect for this?
I'm very good at adapting to instrumentations. So more often than not, when I'm listening for who I'm going to put where, it all comes down to the idea that I have for the chorus, because that's normally the first thing I have in mind. So if the energy of the song that's coming out in the chorus, that's dictating the rest of the energy for the verses going forward. Whatever that sounds like, or whoever I feel like that's going to resonate with whenever I hear the first note of the hook that I wrote, that kind of dictates who I think will or won't go where. Like I know what sound beds make people come alive, and That's what Dawn 3 was for. Me putting sound beds together that make the people that I reached out to for certain records highlighted rather than it being about me. I made sure that album's best records had features on purpose because I made sure that they were amplified on that record. So what I look for on the feature is, how did I make your sound like me?
Okay.
That's the main thing I think about. How can I do your kind of record and it still sound like my song?
Okay, so you try to adapt to kind of to their world too, but also making it yours as in the same process.
I expand the universe. Like, think about a crossover, like when Jimmy Neutron meeting up with fucking Timmy Turner, right? When you see those two crossover episodes, you could tell who was in whose world, but it still made sense because the rules bended around the character.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what I do. I'll make a them type of beat, but it still has my type of drums. It'll still have my kind of melody. You can still tell I put it together, even though I made it a vein of sound that they are comfortable in.
Got you. Okay. And that's, I respect that about you as an artist too, because sometimes you hear a lot of these artists, they like, all right, this is how I want it done. And when you say this is how I want it done, it's more or less like, all right, so you want me to be in your realm, but I can't bring myself, like, so I respect the fact that you want the artists also to not only just amplify their voices and get them on can't say like what's the word I'm looking for? Like your platform, basically, giving people opportunity to be on your platform. Because a lot of times, you have these artists out here who pretty much just work with their homeboys and everything like that, and don't want to reach out to other people, and I think that sometimes that kind of just boxes them in, and you only be known as a local person. But because you're so diverse with your style and you want to reach out to other people and actually integrate with them, I think that's going to make you go far in this game.
Most def. And that was another thing too, like in being in not understanding the barcode metrics, I didn't understand that me not being a likable personality was hindering how many people would actually want to reach out to me. Because it's never that I didn't want to work with more people. I was so snooty because I was so nice that I made them feel that if you weren't ready to fight me over the best verse, there's no point in you pulling up. I alienated a lot of people who could not fuck with me. And it wasn't that they were afraid of me. It was them. They would understand and salute it, but I would still hold it over their head. I didn't realize I was being a douchebag because I was too proud. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you're right. I wish I had understood earlier on that making friends in the industry, even though there ain't no friends in the industry, would have helped me a lot sooner. Now that it's not about that, now that I'm willing to step into your arena, like, yo, you send me the beat, you send the producer, you look like, I don't mind, do it your way. I'll even pay you back half. Now that I am that person, now I can happily say, niggas scared of that now. niggas don't want me in their house with my shoes off. I can say that now because I come hospitable. I bring slides. It's just not welcome anymore because now they know I can do what they do as well.
So my next question is, and I'm glad you brought that up too. What do you think about the state of hip hop that we're in right now, in the 2023 era, compared to the 90s, the early 2000s? Like, what do you think is the biggest difference from that era to this era? And what are your thoughts on it?
There's too many studio acts now, and I'm not mad at a lot of studio acts just because the music still comes out great, and I don't really give a fuck about shows anyway. But I see it as a good and a bad thing. I see it as a good thing because there's plenty of room to eat even without a situation. I see it as a bad thing because there's too much. There's the table so big. Like when I started seeing the numbers of artists who never got one play, but they got cataloged, and I thought about how that worked. Like, you can't click play on your own joint. No one else is clicking play on your joint. I thought, like, it's the same thing with podcasting. Niggas, podcasting is the new rapping at this point. Niggas is hopping in, not willing to starve for it, thinking they can blow up overnight, and they keep recycling their own image so it looks like they were an overnight success and shit. And it's like, fam, the years and hours that you put into it are why you deserve to eat and why you will comfortably be able to maintain it. You niggas who really do pop up over luck, all the niggas who don't last. No disrespect, but that's how Bobby Shmurda, as cool a personality is, as dope as a personality is, and as much as we want to see him win, he wasn't never really the guy who was the rapper. It was always Rowdy Rebel.
Rowdy,
So
yep.
like now that we see that, he's struggling to be an independent act and keep that gravy train rolling because he gonna have trouble catching another one like that because it was accidental. The fact that he had 2 in a row was almost dumb luck, especially now that he don't want to make that kind of music no more.
Yes. I think that that's very important too, what you just said. The fact that, you know, you don't want to make the same music that actually got you popping, you know, that got your name out there, got you known globally and everything like that. Me something?
No, I did.
I think he's in probably up there. Sorry about that, fans. My girl came.
No, you good. You good. My old lady was walking back and forth too. You good?
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh, yes. So I think that that's also one of the things that's very important nowadays when it comes to making your music. You know how you got here, you know what got you here. And now how can you sustain the same level of success that you had beforehand, and whether or not if you want to choose to jump back into that realm that got you there, or you choose to do something different, that's all on an artist. And I think that everybody should be given the opportunity for them to be able to say, all right, let's hear something different from them, because I'm on the train of Bobby was never the dopest rapper. We all know that, but one of the things I do love about Bobby is the fact that Bobby, he has fun. And that's one of the things that's missing in hip hop. I feel like nowadays that a lot of times people, they don't want to just have fun anymore, and I think if we get back into that element of, because we all know what the pillars are when it comes to the hip hop, what are the things, and breakdancing, parties and stuff like that, that was all a part of it. Nowadays people are just too cool to go to clubs and just post up. I hated that.
Like I made a post about it not too long ago that I make hookah lounge music, and it's because my vibe is more chill than what is accepted now. Like nowadays, when you do go into a spot and it's jumping, they just doing TikTok dances even on the dance floor. Like it's one of those things where it's like if you're not too cool for it, you're still only doing the ones that everybody else are doing. I think these view babies don't understand charisma comes from an organic place. I think that's what it is. I think the view babies, the same way kids used to get clowned in classrooms for not knowing the answer, even though they were bold enough to answer, they were afraid of getting the wrong answer. I think that's transcribed over to life because they're doing too much in front of a camera and they're embarrassed to be anybody that isn't already accepted.
That's also true too. So acceptance, talk to me about acceptance. When now that you put in your first, all right, so no, first of all, let me ask you a question. What was the first project? What year was that you dropped on streaming platforms or dropped anywhere?
I'll say that my very first actual project as an independent act, when the situation that I was dealing with was over with, was Legendary Volume 1. That was 2008. That was my first ever Dat Piff exclusive release.
Okay.
And but my very first album was released through purchase only on bandcamp.com in 2012. No, it was not. It was 2012. It was called The Dream. And I'll tell you the story behind both for the most part. Legendary Volume 1 was just an amalgamation of regular mixtapes. It was just like freestyles and a handful of originals here and there. Like it was my demo basically that I was shopping online because I didn't have management at the time. It was at that time I didn't know how to mix. It sounded like one of the mood musics. It sounded a lot like a movie. It wasn't mixed very properly. Same for when I finally got around to doing the Dream album being mixed the same way. It was better mixed than before, but it was still like not complete, wasn't polished. It definitely wasn't something that was ready for streaming platforms, but it was I thought it was a really dope introduction into my creativity, even though it wasn't necessarily an introduction to me. Fast forward, my first streaming album my very first album that I dropped on streaming was Forget Me Not, and I removed it from streaming solely because I don't want that to be looked at as my introductory album. I went back to the drawing board, and that's when I gave them Doing Better Than I'm Feeling in May 2020. That would be my first introduction to streaming proper. And that was the one where I did the 41st Song music video going through Las Vegas when I did the show with my cousins for their birthday. Yeah, like that one. And what I wanted on that one, just I tend to have mood swings at random, even though I'm in control of it. You might not necessarily see it, but you in my face, but you can hear it in what I'm speaking about. So I start with that nigga. I'm doing really, really good, and it descends throughout the album to lower and lower frequencies, and I'm more and more exposed. But even in me being exposed, I'm exposing myself to stuff that other people wouldn't have been able to survive in the first place. I'm always, to an extent, doing better than I'm feeling, even when I'm not feeling good. And that's what I wanted the first one to be like. That's the reason why I wanted to keep going in that same vein, doing better than I mean, bittersweet was meant to be okay, now I'm in a good mood again. When I saw how many people responded to that one very similarly how they responded to the Laugh Now Cry Later album, I said, okay, let me just split this in half. The Drake thing isn't working for me. When I do this R&B side of things, it collects these people who don't give a fuck about these songs, and when I do these super serious records, it collects these people who don't give a fuck about those. That's when I did the split off, and I dropped Dawn, which was meant to be all rap, and then I dropped the Not For Nothing album, which was my first look into melodic trap and R&B by itself.
Okay.
So like, yeah, that's how that went into. That's the reason why it took me a while, and that's the only reason I really split. I know if I feed this audience that many people are going to come, and that many more people will share it because it's all that vein. If I stay here, then all of my New York friends, because that's basically what it is, all my New York fans will keep sharing this one.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. So now you dropped your first projects, right?
Yes.
What do you feel like the response was, and how do you feel about the response when you got it back from the people who actually listened in, and not just people who say they listen, but people who actually can give you some kind of like, like, all right, critique on this album. This one was pretty good. I felt like this one was, how did you feel about the critiquing of your albums?
I always went to the engineers first. Like the general public didn't, like you said, the general public don't really count because they might have just dropped the fire emoji and it was on in the background. They didn't listen for the sake of interpreting. I always like to listen to engineers for that sake. My first mixtape that I said on Dat Piff, it was one of those, yo, this kid can rap type of responses. Like exactly what I expected to after 3 years of not being able to actually put out music at all and just rap when you see me and rap at local battle events and ciphers. Then the debut album, I expected, it got a really, really big response. I actually made 63K off that album just off sales alone, and I was on tour that summer, so like I expected what I got from that one. Like that one did exactly what I knew it was supposed to do, which was supposed to get the ball rolling before I ended up in college, and it did just do just that. College just slowed me down more than I thought. Then on the streaming album, it was what I expected to run across eventually. Them finally critiquing the mixing of it and saying it sounds incomplete, even though it's really good music. So 2020, after quarantine made us all sit down, that was when I got to reinvest, get better equipment, get better in tune with what a good polished mix sounds like, do more with engineers, locked in with that album with Cordell, who is a really good engineer in his own right. And that's when the pieces came together for me to do Bittersweet going into Dawn. So the responses for all of them were what they should have been. He's a phenomenal rapper. He's got good ideas, but something's missing and he needs somebody in the room with him. Like that's what it all came down to until where I am now, that the ball is moving where it should be.
Okay. So talk to me also about the writing process when you go into writing these, because I know you said the chorus is something that you do first, correct?
Yeah, the chorus for most records that I have a feature on is something that I end up doing first.
Okay.
That's not all the time my creative process. Normally it's just how the beat takes me. If it's one of the ones where I'm like the sonics are taking me there, the beat or the melody is always going to come first, and that's what's going to dictate, oh, I think this guy would sound great here, or oh, let me not do this verse because I know this verse would be great for XYZ. But generally speaking, on the Dawn albums, I'm producing the whole album in my head as the writing process. I'm taking one word and I'm elaborating on how I think of that word based on what I want the album itself to say. So I knew I was going to do Dawn 3, and I knew I wanted that to be an album about not making me be who I was, because I've been to too many funerals and I haven't celebrated enough birthdays. That was basically the whole premise of this album. Like, you're famous, you're known for what you do, and the people you love are either leaving your life because they can't deal with the pressures of being close to you, or they're leaving because they're not getting out of the life that you didn't help save them from. You can end up being that person again if you keep getting close to that, or you can keep moving forward with the people you love so they can get the glory that they deserve. So certain words just popped in my head. The idea to have Joe Budden narrate certain ideas, that all was in my head before I heard the first beat. I had bars ready to go before I ever heard or started producing any of the beats. Like when I sit down and do the dawn is like part of my life story. When I do any other side project, it comes together as it comes together, and I might not name it until after the album is done.
Got you. So you said producing. So you did all the production on Dawn 3?
No. I do a lot. I do a large amount of producing on most of the songs, on most of the stuff that I do. But on Dawn, I didn't produce that much. I produced the second beat on Uptown. I produced Act. I produced Reasons. I produced Reasons was one I produced, the one with the music video. I produced Down, another music video that will be dropping on May 5th. Y'all heard it here first. So next Monday, not this Monday coming up, but the Monday after that, Down, the music video will drop. And what else did I produce on Dawn 3? Did I produce anything else on Dawn 3? Oh, Everything, the one with Terrence Mack and B Mason. I made that beat too.
Oh, okay. All right. So producing. When it comes to producing your own music, right? Because all right, no, before I get into that, let me ask you a question. Do you do productions for other people as well?
Oh yes, I am. Another shout out my man Moose T, the host. We are the Trail Harmonics, which is basically the South's version of the hit makers Young Berg and Jeremiah. I'll sit down and pin references. I'll make beats. He does the mixing and the auto tuning, like the structuring of it, like my Young Berg. And we do sell skeletons. I actually produced some records for Grown Man 2, Cordell Watts' next album that'll be coming out. I've produced him a couple records. Okay. I've produced for Kadeem. I've produced for Paradox. I'm producing an entire New York drill album for Dreaded Blaze coming up soon. I'm dipping my foot into it. Like my main thing is artistic direction. So if it's the aesthetics in the beat, like the sound bed, I work with it just as much as I work with getting your photography right. I'm here to make sure that everything looks as professional as it can on something reasonable for an upstart artist.
Gotcha. All right. So now when it comes to making these features and doing these features with people, are you send me in the feature, or do you like to do it in person?
A lot of times it depends on how far away they are from me. If if there's somebody in the tri-state, I'm popping out in the studio. You can see it there. Like a song that we orchestrated. I didn't produce it, but we orchestrated it. Me and Kadeem did the song Vigilante with Paradox. And we both had our verses ready to go after we heard her verse on the reference. We booked the studio session. She was there. She sat back and watched us put the rest of the song together. And she just sat there and watched. Like that's kind of, so like when it comes to it, we will not necessarily take the song for you, but we will build you the best version of your song if you have us in the room. But otherwise, like if it's just me looking to get some writing credits or looking to sell a record, I'm just sending it to you with a verse and a hook on it, or maybe just a hook. Like Cordell Watts, I sent him a joint called East. I produced the beat, I did the flip, I got everything chopped. I did a verse, then I threw a hook on it, and I just emailed it to him like, hey, let me know how you feel.
Okay.
That's also what I did with his song Rent Free that I co-produced with him. Like I literally just sent him the pieces for him to do what he wanted to do with and let him say, hey, I need more.
Okay. All right. So that's very, because so do you feel like when you sending someone a record as opposed to being in the room with them, do you feel like you still get the same connection with that person when that record is being put together, or do you prefer like, because I understand the location, saying like this person's all the way on this side of the earth, and you're all the way over here, but do you feel like when you're in a room with someone that you get a better connection, a vibe for that record than as opposed to just emailing somebody there?
I feel like I do, depending on the artist. Like Cordell, I know I can trust him to do whatever the hell he gonna do with it, and it's gonna be fire. There's certain people that I feel like they do need their handheld in order to get the most out of what I'm going to give them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it really just depends on the caliber of musician that I'm dealing with. As long as the song is dope, I don't mind sending you a record and letting you work on it however you're gonna work on it. I don't necessarily have to attach to it so long as you're happy if I'm sending you a reference. Versus if we're doing something and we're trying to make it a moment, we're gonna do a video, like No, we need to at least be on a video call or on the phone, piecing things together, making sure this part is here. I don't like how that sounds. Like I like when people will get on the phone with me and say, yo, can you change this mix? Can you move this here? Like I want people, if you really want the record to bloom, I want you to be involved with it. So if I'm just sending you the reference, that's a test to me to an extent. I'm gonna hear what you're doing with it. I'm gonna give you input. If you don't want my input, I hear it when it's out. And if you send me a reference and I send you a verse back, if I don't hear from you again on it, you know what I'm saying? You just wanted my name on the record. I take it as it comes. I'm not super attached to it to the point of where I'm gonna hang my head on what they do or not. But you get to show me something with what you do with what I give you.
Got you. And I think that's very important too when you get that. I don't know. For me, as a person, when I go into listening to music, because I obviously I don't produce anything besides what I do here on my pod, but when it comes to me, when I listen to music, I want to take it to different increments. I want to see, how does this make me feel, in this type of setting, how would it make me feel while I'm at work, how would it make me feel when I'm just at home sitting back chilling, smoking a blunt and playing some video games, so every time when I listen to a record, I try to listen to a different settings, and I remember when you first sent me your record Uptown, I know you told me try to wait till I could get on the pod and hear it like that, but I just couldn't wait because I like your music so much. So when you sent it to me, bro, and I heard it, and I was like, wait, what the? Nah, hold on. So I was like, yo, listen, I said I got a record from the guy, saying from the group, but I'm gonna play it live on the pod for y'all to listen to it. I'm not gonna play it for y'all right now, And when they got the reaction and their response to it, they was like, yo, that shit is like when that beat drops, I'm like. Yo, stop playing.
That open, like, I won't even lie to you. Like, you mentioned my creative process, right? I told you, like, when I start writing the Dawn, it's kind of written in my head before we ever get to the beats.
Okay.
That opening bar was one of the first bars I wrote for the album. It's always a fiasco when you fool with niggas. Disappoint them, you a loser, but you was the cool one when you brought the food and liquor. That was one of the first bars I wrote for the entire project. And it's like, I knew anybody who understand what I'm saying is gonna get that I'm frustrated, because that's ultimately what it was. Like, man, let me get away from these motherfuckers before I hurt them. That's why I had to leave. I was in Houston for that weekend. I literally was, and I was still getting pissed off on the way there. That being stuck behind a bitch in the Civic, that shit happened. I was crossing the bridge, like going through Dallas so I could get to Houston, right? On the bridge, like, it's 5 fucking lanes going like past Mesquite. Because like you've been in Dallas before, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
That motherfucking bridge was so packed. I'm on the carpool lane and this bitch doing 100 in a Civic and I still can't get past
her. So you incorporate a lot of real life into your bars too.
Yeah, like some of my best lyrics are literally written on the interstate on my way places to place.
Okay. All right. So I just got a couple more questions for you before we get out of here. All right. So
most deaf.
Question real quick. Who is M.O.B Trey's dream feature?
Whenever Royce got time, he got to give me 50. And he got to give me a 50 that he mean it on. Otherwise, I'm gonna scar that old man up. I know how hard he swing. I'm ready. He gotta give me a 50 that he mean. He gotta give me the 50 that he would put next to Jay on God did. Otherwise, I'm gonna hurt Royce.
Okay.
That's what I'm aiming at right now. Like I want the best Royce. I want the LA Leakers Royce to pull up. That's what I want. I want the LA Leakers Royce to pull up. I'm ready.
You ready for the LA Leakers Royce? That's gonna have somebody with the shit face the whole track. Like
Uptown was me deciding to cut it off before I make it to 100 bars. You're talking to somebody drop 200, like regularly give him a 10-minute verse, and it was all Uptown level shit. And I've been doing that since I was 24. I've been ready. I've been ready. I'm just now at the point of where I'm like, all right, I get why, even though I had the skills to be ready back then, I wasn't going to win. Like, I know you a nerd like me, so you'll get this Dragon Ball reference. Goku probably would have smacked around Gohan, even though Gohan was stronger when he was 11. I honestly think Goku still would have won that fight, in spite of how strong Gohan was when he killed Cell, right? I don't know if he get away from Beast Gohan now that he know to train at least somewhat to not lose it. At this point, I'm Beast Gohan, even if he is Goku. He not getting out of this. He not able to, he can't dodge this fast. He can't dodge this fast. I say that with love. Royce is on my Mount Rushmore of pins. It's him, Rakim, Black Thought, and Nas. That's the Mount Rushmore of all time pins. And Royce to me is the one that symbolizes what I do the most. That's why he's the dream. He's the dream feature.
Got you.
That's a dope. I'm not ready for Black Thought yet. That's him. That's Kadeem.
Oh, that's Kadeem's realm right there. Black Thought. You think he could take?
Yeah, I'm not ready.
On?
I'm not ready for Thought, but Kadeem ready.
Oh shit, man! I gotta check this out, man. I definitely will be looking for it.
My man said DJ Scratches sent me to heaven. Hell, even Jesus had to flip a table over.
Oh,
nah. When I tell you, if anybody's ready for Thought, it's Dean, the greatest pen in history, and I can't wait for people to figure that out.
Okay, shit. I'm definitely gonna be looking him up too more so because I'm not too familiar with him. No disrespect.
His next album is called Therapy. I'll make sure that the group is there. If I can do another interview with y'all and we can get the whole cast in, I'd like to do a live screening of the album whenever we get it in.
I would love to do that, and I'm definitely down to that for that, bro. I would definitely like to do that, and I want to have you definitely more come back on the pod. As for one of our regular episodes.
I'm here, man. I'm here. They've been telling me I had a radio voice forever. I'm down.
Yeah, man, for sure, yo, this was dope, man. I just got one more question for you before we get, and I want to play your new song that's gonna have you said the video's dropping next week, right? So
yeah, the Mary J interlude. Yes, the Mary J interlude.
I'm gonna play that record as soon as we get out of here. So for my banger for this week. All right, so now we did your dream rap feature. We know you play with R&B. Who's the R&B feature?
Man, I've already got a record with him that is basically an unofficial release, but whenever I get the bread for it, I want to clear a Party Next Door record.
Really?
I'd love, like, he kind of set the blueprint for how I make R&B music, that moody ambience. I kind of put it with him first. So it's like there's a lineage of people that I'd like to do music with, but they all start with P&D. Like I would do a Don Toliver record, of course, because I would do a Brent Faiyaz record. And because I do a Brent Faiyaz record, of course, I would do a Black Atlas record. And because I do a Black Atlas record, of course, I would do a Weekend record. If I would do a Weekend record, of course, I'd do a Party record.
Got you.
It kind of starts with that tree. Like all of that tree of R&B, I'm in that.
And that's a dope tree to be in, man. You just mentioned some of my favorite dudes right now.
Speaking of which, I forgot. Let me not disrespect, because I know people hate him right now. I know he's still on trial for it, but Tory Lanez is also in that tree. And that's what the next R&B album is based off of anyway, basically doing my version of a Chicks tape. So like, let me not leave him out. In spite of what he might have done personally, I wasn't there. And I have my own set of beliefs, but he's in that tree too. But my fault to cut you off. No,
you're perfectly fine, brother. You're perfectly fine. And like I was saying, and even mentioning Tory Lanez, another one of my favorite R&B dudes. Well, I did not say R&B dude, but one of my favorite guys who plays in that R&B realm. You know?
Overall artist. I say he's one of the overall artists too.
Yes, and he's dope as fuck, man. Despite what he's done, like you said, that can't take away from the music. And the music he's given me throughout the course of his career. I love all his music. So what he did was that's them. But
he gave us Proud Family, man. He gave us Girl Bond, man. We kind of gotta forgive. If we can forgive R. Kelly after he gave us that vibe, I can forgive the guy who gave me Love Your Girl with T-Pain. I can forgive him.
Ooh, yes, facts. Wait, he wrote that record?
Yes, like all of the records for Chicks Take Five, for the most part, he had to chop right there on the spot and try to fight for clearance because that album was gonna be out in 2019, not 2020, if not for so many clearance issues with split tracks. Like the
Gotcha.
Ashanti record, he literally chopped like within 5 to 10 minutes right there in front of her because she wasn't finna waste time.
Mm.
Like I
Shit,
did a
that's
lot
dope.
of homework on that shit. I'm like, yeah, like you made that out of desperation. Like, nah, you one of the ones.
I think that that's dope too. And I think when you were in this music industry, I think doing your homework and doing your due diligence when it comes to this is very important because you don't want to be caught out there with with people talking to you about music and you have nothing to add to it. It's like, yeah, it's like, wait, hold on, aren't you in music? Like,
I do homework on all of these niggas. I say I'm only in competition with me, but there's still a barcode metric. Whatever they are implementing that works, I need to see if it works in my business model. I'll be open. I'll be open and transparent and letting you know, hey, bots is how niggas who don't have situations eat. I don't use them myself, but I do take advantage of how bots operate. I share my link to bots every day for them to retweet to other bots that do eventually reach the real people. I use
mhm.
bots to my advantage. So like I'm one of those people who will see something that is working, whether it's shiesty or not, and say, hey, it can funnel into the money my music is making so more people can see it. I'm with it.
Shit, I feel you on that, man. I need to start taking advantage of that too. But all right, man,
Mhm.
let's get ready to wrap this up, man. So this is a new record off of your new album, Dawn
Yeah,
3,
down.
Down. And the video will be coming out on May 5th, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, check this out, everyone.
Mary J gonna get sick of me sampling her records.
If it's done right, I don't think anyone can say anything.
Nah, I went crazy on this one too.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that forever I'll ride. Every bag I bust it down and break bread with all of mine. They should know how I get down, cause I get down. So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that forever I'll ride. Every bag I bust it down and break bread with all of mine. They should know how I get down, cause I get down. By the time I catch that baseline, they know it's my playtime. Something's getting snatched and now on waistlines. I don't remember the last time I stayed on the safe side. Been 6 years since I was jugging on state line. All shorty wanted some FaceTime, but she just get a video call. They having conversations about all the cities broke on. All of these women need visit, it's like a pretty roll call. Like I ain't asked for your heart and you chose to give me your thumb. Sound like I'm pillow talking when I'm reminiscing on songs. Ain't gang lettermans for the team, we been in it so long. Letting my phone ring rather than just give them the tone. Of course bitches call him a dog after he give them the bone. Oof. Still be oversharing and dealing with women who think that it's cute to be overbearing. First I toast to the wind, then I'm back on road again. So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that forever I'll ride. Every bag I bust it down and break bread with all of mine. They should know how I get down, cause I get down. So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that forever I'll ride. Every bag I bust it down and break bread with all of mine. They should know how I get down, cause I get down.
So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that forever I'll ride. Every bag I bust it down and break bread with all of mine. They should know how I get down, cause I get down. So tell me, is you down? Would you really slide? Pick me up when I get down. For that
If you're
forever I'll
sugarcoating
ride.
something,
Every
you're
bag I
tippy-toeing
bust it
around
down
something.
and break
You are
bread
not
with
getting to the meat and potatoes. You're not getting to the shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's Down, featuring your boy M.O.B Trey off his new album
Mm-hmm.
on 3 out now. Listen, my brother, I really
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
the time, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you plug your stuff and let them know where they can find you at?
Uh, Everything officially MOB. That's Instagram. That's Twitter. Dawn 3 on Spotify, all streaming sites. Skin Deep coming this summer. It'll be a full visual album. The clean version will be free to view on YouTube. The explicit version The unrated version will be available on bandcamp.com behind the paywall for joining the mob. That is literally just a monthly subscription of only $2. That'll be where you can view the full visual experience, all of the music videos unedited. But yeah, that'll be out during the summertime. I appreciate the time again, bro. I really do.
No, man, I appreciate you, man. You know, and it's your boy Chief Chris, and I'm signing out of here. Trey.